The other individual is on this war path to have as many people on their side as possible. I have always been pretty leery of social media. It's a complicated, dark hole. We all rely on it, right? It's kind of scary to conceptualize or take the time to at least consider all the ways that we use social media. It's a part of our lives, and I honestly don't think it's ever going to go away. What makes social media difficult is not social media in and of itself, but rather the various kinds of people, if I can use those two words together, that get on social media and make it a cesspool of confusion. Social media can be dangerous for many reasons, but as a psychotherapist, I've mainly observed the evils of social media when it becomes a tool used by a person that has a problem, that has a mental illness, that has a dark-seated goal in mind, and sometimes even by individuals who love the dynamics of social media. I've seen it used in a very evil, controlling way. Take, for example, psychological manipulation tactics. How do psychological manipulation tactics actually work in social media? Well, there has to be some evoking of emotion on your part. There has to be some kind of political, psychological, or moral issue at the core of a conversation you're having online. That often evokes emotion and often causes different ones to get involved and become emotionally involved, and then there's this big explosion online. So psychological manipulation online has to entail those two things. The third thing is there's a process by which different ones on social media skew the truth or skew the science that's attached to a topic, right? And when you have the skewing of information, you have the pursuit to evoke emotion in people who are online, and you often may even find yourself getting stuck with somebody who has this really strong insistence on causality, right? That A causes B. When you have all of those components, it can be really difficult to have any kind of a conversation that's normal, calm, educational, and even intellectual. Add to the mix of the dark hole of social media a toxic family dynamic, a toxic relationship dynamic where the other individual is now angry. The other individual now has preconceived assumptions or notions about you. The other individual is on this war path to have as many people on their side as possible. Anytime that you're in something like this, it's a very toxic, dark, and even evil dynamic. Fear-mongering, creating doubt, self-doubt, and also evoking emotion in a sequence, right? So if this is a series of behaviors, you can get to a point where your reality feels so very skewed and feels so very confusing that you don't even know where you should be, right? Take the example of politics. Politics is often very complicated, and people get online and they go on news channels, they go on journaling channels, they also create their own videos sometimes, and they talk to local organizations who post videos online, and right in the comments section you could really see that there's an evoking of emotion on most of the parts of the people who are involved. There's also an active attempt to create doubt in other people or to perpetuate things that is not correct, like certain news reports that are highly emotional and skewed in one direction. There's also fear mongering, right? So you have certain people saying, the end of the world is coming, Armageddon is around the corner, get your groceries as soon as possible, stock up on things, make sure you have everything because a recount of the political votes is happening and there may be a huge explosion in society. So hurry up and get everything that you need from the grocery store. So this is a complicated topic, right? And then whenever you throw into the midst of all of these dynamics I just discussed, a toxic, dysfunctional family, a toxic, dysfunctional relationship, then things get a little more interesting. So if you feel like you're the victim of some kind of social media evil, you want to keep watching. I find myself really conflicted when it comes to social media, especially as a psychotherapist who knows just about everything that's likely to be out there in the online world. It's too free of a system, right? Anybody can post anything online, and anybody can impersonate somebody else as well online. And that's the scary thing. YouTube is cracking down on a lot of people who want to post videos on YouTube. They want to steal videos. They want to, repurpose them. YouTube is cracking down on that. But there are other social media platforms, that are not really doing that. And anybody can get online and post anything. Consider, for example, a family member. Let's say, a family member took a photo of you and other family members, and they want to upload your photo to their Facebook account. But instead of just uploading that video and leaving it as it is, they upload the video, they crop the video, they add some features to the video, or the photo, I should be saying. And then they put a description under the photo or video, and they welcome comments. Let's say, for example, your facial expression in that photo was not a very positive facial expression, and your family member takes that opportunity to psychoanalyze what you're thinking and feeling and adds it in a public space on Facebook. That's an evil right there, because number one, you haven't okayed and approved of the photo or the video. Number two, maybe you don't want your place of employment, your neighbors, your friends, your spouse, even your children, if you have them, to see that photo or that video, right? And also, maybe you have been estranged from your family for a while, and that photo is just being dissected and picked and pulled apart in a way that makes you feel exposed or unloved or uncared for. It's a very evil thing, right? That's one example. Fear mongering and creating doubt is another example. But there are other examples like exaggeration or amplification, right? To stir chaos. Maybe your photo was just, a picture where you got caught off guard and somebody hit the OK button, and you asked if they could do another picture, and they did, but they chose to post the bad photo, right? Because that one is a lot more interesting, and they may get more likes and they may get more thumbs up from the photo that shows that you have a bad facial expression. So that's an evil as well, just that exaggeration and amplification of things to stir chaos and misunderstanding. There may also be the skewing of truth, right? And science. So let's say, for example, you're on a website and you're trying to understand global warming. Now, this is just an example. You may click onto a website that looks pretty legitimate, right? Especially if the, especially if the URL has a particular ending, right? .com, .org, .edu. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% correct, because individuals who study the internet and those who are criminals can very easily change the URL. And there you are believing information that has skewed truth or absolutely false lies, right? The other thing is fostering of social media in retaliation, right? Or to cause some kind of division. This happens a lot in toxic families where, there's no contact, there's family estrangement, there's a very dysfunctional toxic dynamic at the core of the relationships in your family. And, here's some information online, and, you recognize that, oh my God, this is information that's being posted to maintain the division within my family. This is information that is being posted to create division in the world, right? We call that Discord trolling. When an individual that you don't know gets online and they post information on different websites, or they post information in the comments section of different videos in an attempt to cause division. I'm sure we saw a lot of that during the election, right? Where somebody is a Trump supporter, a Biden administration supporter, a Harris supporter, right? And they take that information or any information that they find on either of those political groups, and they post different things on various websites or in various comment sections of videos in an attempt to not only troll, but also create division. And it's a very ugly thing. It's a very ugly thing. It's really hard to pinpoint it at first because the individual who is doing the Discord trolling may actually look like they are a participant. And there may be times when they do participate, right? That's all a part of the mind game. They participate in one live chat, right? They participate maybe in one comment section. And they seem to be a normal human being. But in between chatting and adding opinion and adding some ideas about certain things, in between those moments, they may post something that doesn't make any sense at all. Somebody says, there's a troll in the chat box. They've done it to me. You guys have done it to me many times. Discord trolling, it's this periodic engagement and communication that seems normal, but then they come back later and have something that they want to say that's completely off the wall, right, or off the chart. What does research say about the evils of social media? Because we can talk about this for hours, right? We can also talk about this for many days. This is really just touching the surface of this topic. So research has really tried to identify the psychology of evil social media, and it is really difficult, again, because we are only just touching the surface with some of this information, right? Let me just throw out here before I talk about some of the research that building trust of people online can happen all the time in a very easy way, right? We can build trust with people by giving statistics, by maintaining a consistent presence. We can also build trust by saying things that most people believe are correct. We can also build trust by appearing friendly and kind. But when it comes to evil social media, trust is built very differently. Trust is built based on consistency, based on what is being said in chat boxes or comment sections, right? Trust can also be built through humor, through connecting with other people who feel similarly. And that can be really dangerous, right? Because we don't know who is on the other side of that computer. It's a deliberate movement, often, for a response. People who engage online, it's deliberate, right? I'm going to decide to click on that video and watch the video, and I'm going to click on that chat box, and I'm going to engage with intent. And my intent is either positive or negative. Research suggests that cyberbullying is often an issue on social media. Cyberbullying can be social isolation. It can be social comparison. It can also be saying things like, I hope you kill yourself. Okay. It could also be something like saying, your mama A, B, and C. Anything to evoke emotion is what an individual online is hoping to do, right? If you get those kind of Discord trolls, then you know that this is an intentional, deliberate act to create some kind of discomfort. Research also suggests that misinformation is a very dark hole on social media. There's so many blogs, so many different individuals who are posting on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube that it's really hard to weed through the chaos and find that truthful information that is full of knowledge. Even reputable looking websites and videos can even be, encouraging false information. You may have a family member who is also perpetuating false information, right? They go on Facebook or YouTube or MySpace, if that still exists. I'm dating myself, right? They can go on any other website that we have today or social media platform, even Snapchat, and find information and perpetuate it, and it's misinformation. Misinformation is often highly emotional, and it's political, and it's also psychological. And that's why you can go to a political video or website and you see an argument happening right before you. That's why you can look at your family member on your Facebook and see that they've posted a series of links and articles and informational channels that are completely false. They're illegitimate. Research also talks about addiction of social media and gaming that can break up and destroy relationships depending on how fixed that addiction is, right? And there's something known as echo chambers, which is basically a website, a chat box, a comment section, or any kind of social media platform where You get involved in a conversation, and everybody who believes in that same thing begins commenting and supporting the ideas and the emotions behind a particular concept that only supports one perspective. It doesn't look at all the other research articles. It doesn't look at all the other issues that may be associated with the topic that you're interested in. It's kind of like a support group that we all come to this website and we talk about, for example, gang stalking, and we all believe that the information that we have gathered is the information that we need to help society understand us better. Politics, right? We have a whole group of Republicans or Democrats who get online and they all support each other and they all talk about the same thing. They all believe in the same thing and they all share evidence, quote unquote evidence, that supports their political ideology. Nothing else in the world exists. And let's not forget about privacy. Privacy is another issue, right? People can tap into your social media at any time, steal your profile, even your family members, right? Young people today, and especially those who come see me for psychotherapy, they often find themselves in a very difficult position. Why? Because sometimes they give their login information to a really good friend who they thought was a friend, who then later logs in, changes the passwords, and then puts information online that is exploited. And so the cyber world, the social media world can be very evil. What about people who hide behind screen names, right? And they get online with evil intent. It's really hard for police to pinpoint where they are, who they are, right? And why they're doing what they're doing. That's why cyber stalking is such a complicated situation. And it becomes even more difficult when you recognize that, okay, I'm now dealing with a personality disorder. I'm now dealing with a narcissist behind the screen. I'm now dealing with a sociopath behind the screen. I'm now dealing with a political nut who is trying to cause division and is trolling every video and comment section to see how far they can get. It gets even more complicated when the Discord troller is somebody from your job, somebody in your family, somebody that you thought you trusted. And let's go a little bit further and say that your doctor, your dentist, your surgeon could very much be online creating discord and chaos, but you'll never know. Why? Because they're hiding. So how does all of this impact you, right? Oh, geez, let's get into this, okay? I talk about this all the time with clients, and sometimes they're at the end of their session with me and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe she just told me all this, right? So let's talk about this. How does this impact you? Well, when you're online, let's say, for example, you're communicating with family, friends, coworkers, whatever, whoever you're connecting with. The first thing that an evil individual would do online, especially a narcissist or a sociopath who's hiding behind a screen name, who's hiding behind a chat box on Facebook, they're going to discredit you. And they can do it in two ways. One, they kind of attribute false information to motives, right? So let's say, for example, you are saying, I want to make sure that we have our rights respected and we don't become prisoners in our own country. Right? Somebody who's hiding behind a screen name can discredit your emotions, can discredit you and go to your website and say, you know what? I found you on this photo, in a club, half nude, and it looks like you engage in prostitution. If that's the case, then I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. Boom. There you go. There's somebody who is discrediting you and they've gone the long way by going to your website, finding something bad on you and then posting it, right? Discrediting can also happen through gaslighting and it can also happen through denial. The other thing is black and white thinking, right? There's no gray in the middle. So if somebody online can encourage you or force you to see things in very rigid ways, they won, right? Oh, we're both Trump supporters. We're both Harris supporters. We both believe in abortion. In a previous video, I talked about what used to be called shared psychosis. And that's something that can happen online as well. You can have one individual who's very unstable and possibly psychotic and going through a psychotic break, but they have this ability to influence other people. And they get online and next thing you know, they have a whole following of people who are just as mentally and emotionally unstable as they are. If they can get you to see things in black and white terms, they've won. The other thing is evoking emotion through negative comments, right? Emotional language, using profanity, telling lies or skewing the perspective of certain people online, right? Placing blame where it doesn't need to be, judging. These are all things that stir negative emotions, And the scary part about it is sometimes we don't have all the information that we need to be able to identify and deal with an individual who's bringing us lies, right? It's a little bit difficult to deal with, but this is why cyberbullying, cyber harassment, and cyber stalking are one of the most difficult areas of study, because it's not as easy as we would think it could be, right? That's the scary part. Let me also say that there is often an appeal to protective duty. Oh my God, that's a tongue twister. Try saying that 3 times. There is an appeal to protective duty, right? Sometimes individuals will get online and stand their political ground no matter what. And they feel the need to protect everybody else that feels similarly. It causes division. It causes discord. It causes confusion. So we don't need somebody who's only adding to the situation in a negative way, acting like they have a protective duty of any kind. Let's talk about briefly identity impersonation. How do you know that you're talking to the person of that website? How do you know you're talking to the person of that Snapchat account? We don't know. Go to Reddit. I think I'm saying that correctly. That can be a really challenging place to be. Facebook. That's another one. It's really scary, right? There could also be something known as support impersonation. And that's when somebody impersonates a healthcare organization, impersonates a psychologist, impersonates a YouTube influencer who is donating money or receiving proceeds for something. You don't know if you're sending the money that you want to help them raise to the right place. And repetitive trolling is something that happens all the time, right? Somebody who just trolls all day, every day because they're unemployed, maybe mentally ill, maybe has a narcissistic personality disorder, maybe they're a dark empath, right? And they just want some kind of attention. And then there's also provocation trolling, where the individual just trolls the internet hoping to provoke somebody to anger. It's a really difficult dynamic. Join me this Friday and Saturday in my live chats. I'm going to be talking just a little bit more about this concept. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.